Hello and welcome to the workshop on quality assurance. My name is Dr. Claude Presnell. I serve as the president of the Tennessee Independent Colleges and Universities. This presentation is brought to you by IREX in association with TACUA. Just to give you a little background on the Tennessee Independent Colleges and Universities, this is an association of 34 regionally accredited institutions of higher learning in the state and the United States of America. The institutions enroll right at 80,000 students and confer 19,000 degrees per year. These degrees range from the baccalaureate through the PhD. When we talk about quality assurance, the first question we need to answer and I think that the fundamental thing that we need to understand is that, one, we live in a knowledge economy now. That not only is it a knowledge economy that influences our services and our goods, but as well it's a global economy. So what happens in one particular country now has an impact on another. And I think we have recently seen this in the financial recessions that our countries have experienced, is that no one country can operate in isolation. It's going to impact others as well. The other is intellectual mobility. Now more than ever before are we seeing professors and students moving from one institution to another, crossing international lines. Not only are they doing that within their particular academic program, but they're doing it based as well on further studies. So whereas they may end up with their first degree cycle at one country, they may do their second and third degree cycles at other countries. There's also need for intellectual excellence in all areas. Quality assurance is not restricted only to the sciences, or only to the humanities, or only to the arts. But we need education excellence in every area that impacts not only our economy, but also impacts our civil and virtuous societies. As well, there needs to be a visioning of a partnership of training, economic development, and civil society. And what we mean here is that this partnership includes us outside of our institutional walls. In other words, it includes all the stakeholders who have a vested interest in the quality of the educational programs at our institutions. And from that visioning partnership, we need to have ultimately a shared vision among all the stakeholders as to where it is that we're going as a country, where are we going as a society, and what role the institution of higher learning plays within that. What are some of the stakeholders in quality assurance? Well, it's pretty broad-based. First of all, the general public. The general public has a vested interest that the institutions of higher learning in their area are providing the absolute best quality educational programs available. The general public are the ones who are paying the taxes, which in many cases support various programs on our campuses. So they want to make sure as well that we're good stewards of the resources that they are providing through their tax dollars. Higher education community is another stakeholder. Our institutions no longer operate in isolation. So as students move from one institution to another, and as you send students out from your institution as graduate, or you receive students from other higher education institutions, you want to have the assurance, as well as do they, that the programs that the students studied in were of the absolute state-of-the-art quality as compared to the programs they're offering on their campus. For instance, you don't want to receive a student into one of your graduate level programs when they have had a subpar experience at the undergraduate or the baccalaureate experience. So higher education community is another stakeholder. Government is obviously a third stakeholder. In many cases, the governments want to make sure that the institutions of higher learning in their country are providing outstanding educational programs and services to their students. But as well, many governments provide considerable support for the education programs on our campuses, whether that's direct support for particular programs or facilities for particular programs, or even financial support for students to attend our institutions. Whatever that support may be, the government is interested to make sure that you are good stewards of those resources provided to you. Students are another stakeholder. Students want to have the confidence when they enroll in your institution that they will get one of the best educational experiences available. that they're going to enter into an education program that is concerned about quality, that is concerned about improving quality in an ongoing basis. And one of the final stakeholders are employers. Employers want to know when they look at a student's background that when they've attended your institution, that program that they went through at your university is among the best programs available. They don't want to believe that they're going to have to retrain their employees to be able to how to communicate, to be able to write effectively, to be able to collaborate with other workers. They want to know that you have instilled those students with the critical thinking skills necessary to be successful at that place of employment. So employers have a very key role in vested interest in the success of your institution. So what is the ultimate goal of accreditation and quality? From the institutional perspective, it is a matter of the university articulating its mission within its recognized context of higher education, and that it is able to also articulate its responsibility and demonstrate that it's accomplishing the mission for which it's stated. So the mission statement provides that central purpose for which all quality assurance issues will surround itself. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. But what are the fundamental demands of quality? From a broad base speaking, quality practice demands broad-based support from the ministry or government as well as institutional commitment. Quality assurance is not easy. Quality assurance as well is continuous. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But the bottom line is that there needs to be a national commitment to improving our institutions of higher learning, which is demonstrated through our government or our ministry, and that the institution itself has that commitment, and that within the institution it is a very broad-based commitment from the administration, the governing boards, to the faculty, as well down to frontline staff members. Quality is an inclusive process. It needs to make sure that you include all appropriate stakeholders in any process for which you're trying to improve, whether it is an administrative streamlining function or it is a matter of improving an educational program. Making sure that you get all the stakeholders involved in that process in order to ultimately approve it and have the desired outcomes is absolutely critical. The process is also openly communicated. Quality processes are not secretive. They are to be open and transparent and openly communicated to everyone involved in the process so that they can provide valuable input into how things might be improved. Quality assurance also clearly outlines responsibilities. It's making sure that you understand where you have the ability to make a difference within a particular process of quality improvement and where you do not, and who is responsible for making change and affecting improvement in what particular area. If there's confusion around responsibilities, the entire quality process will ultimately fall apart. As well, the fundamental issue around quality assurance is that it empowers for change and constant improvement. Quality assurance done rightly will result in an enormous amount of motivation for campuses and those within the campus environment and other stakeholders to be excited about ongoing improvement at your institution. So accreditation and quality assurance are very closely tied. And if you look at this, there are very structural models that different countries have adopted in order to affect quality assurance and accreditation. So there are three basic models. There's the governmental model, where the government actually controls, hires, and governs exactly how accreditation and quality assurance is going to take place, and they dictate what those quality assurance mechanisms look like. There's quasi-governmental, where the government may provide funding for such an initiative, but it is actually governed independently and is part of a peer review process. And then there's the total independent model, which is what we find in the United States. And in that model, it is government has a relationship with the accrediting bodies and the vested interest in quality improvement, but they do not govern it, they do not fund it. It is actually funded by the peer institutions. But the bottom line is, whatever the structural model, there needs to be an alignment of quality expectations. The expectations of whatever the accrediting body is needs to be aligned with what the institutional expectations are within those particular areas. What is also very important to understand here is that the fundamentals of accreditation and quality mechanisms, as dictated by an accreditation body, serve as the minimum requirements for institutional improvement, not the maximum. The institution should aspire to go well beyond what is expected from them by a government or accreditation body. So let's look at really what is the central driver of all quality assurance. It's the institution's mission. The mission statement serves as the primary focus and objective of the institution. What is your purpose? And so it answers the question, why do we exist? If you're an institution of technology, your mission statement should clearly articulate that your institution is primarily focused on engineering education or technological education. So it will define clearly why it is that you exist. If your institution has a broader base purpose, your institution mission should articulate that. But it also provides institutional aspiration. So that statement, although clear, concise, and small in its nature, should be able to identify precisely who you are and also a little bit of aspiration for who the institution wants to become. So here is something that is fundamental to the mission, that the mission statement, again, establishes the clear institution identity, in that by doing so, this creates loyalty to the university and to its purpose. The loyalty will be seen by its faculty, its staff, its students, and also by the stakeholders, the government entity, the general public, the employers, the alumni, and so forth. Any confusion surrounding the mission of the university will lead to disagreements on allocation of resources, and it will be chaotic concerning priorities. And quality assurance and quality improvement is nearly impossible if the mission is not clear and provides an understanding among all the stakeholders. So what are the fundamentals of accreditation? These are the areas by which accreditation typically looks to make sure that they are all aligned with your institutional mission. Governance, administration, financial, physical resources, your student services, whether they are para-academic or social services, education programs, faculty, library, and other learning resources. Each of these areas need to be able to measure success. So you need to be able to have a baseline of data that understands who you are, a clear understanding of what you're doing, and then it also will identify areas by which you need to improve. So you have baseline of who you are. You also have comparative analysis of who you might want to become and what areas that you might improve. So you need robust data. You need the ability to process the data into manageable and meaningful ways. Data for data itself is not helpful. It needs to be interpreted and managed in a way that allows for improvement. And you need that comparative analysis. You compare what your process is with institutions of similar processes and how you compare to them, but you also compare to institutions which you want to aspire to be more like, so that it challenges you to move forward in your quality process. But as well, you need to be able to create an environment of continuous quality improvement. And so all of this ability to measure success will create this idea of continuous improvement rather than episodic improvement. And continuous quality assurance is not something you do once and you're done with. It's something that is a culture change at your So how might you do that? Well, in the United States, we are required to have a campus office of institutional effectiveness. That office has its own mission statement that is directly linked to making sure that it's assisting in accomplishing the institution's mission. The university clearly states the desired outcomes for all the educational programs, the support services, the administrative functions. This office collects data that enables them and facilitates continuous improvement within each of those areas. The Office of Institutional Effectiveness puts together assessment procedures that are in place to measure whether or not the desired outcomes are being accomplished. And again, this is both in the academic program arena as well as in the administrative services. Then it provides evidence of improvement based on that analysis of the outcomes. So you would view the Institutional Effective Office as the office that facilitates and provides the data necessary and the comparative analysis necessary so that the entire university can improve processes in a very way. So in summary, higher education must understand that it is in a global environment. We are no longer institutions operating within our local communities. Whether or not we like it or try to recognize it, our institutions are being compared to and benchmarked against institutions throughout the world. Whether or not your institution is in Kosovo or it is in Poland or if it's in Brazil, wherever it is, it's being compared to institutions in the United States, Great Britain, Middle East, and so forth. As well, stakeholders are all looking for a more responsive and accountable form of higher education. All the stakeholders we listed before are wanting to make sure that you're responsive to changes in our economy and our global competitiveness, but as well that you're accountable in that you're making sure that you're accomplishing your mission and purpose. Collaboration is key. Quality assurance is an open, transparent process that includes all stakeholders and collaborates not only within the institution but outside of the institution to accomplish your mission. Higher education must define, demonstrate, and clearly communicate meaningful student outcomes. Why is it that the institution exists, and how is it that you can demonstrate through your student programs and what your students will ultimately look like upon graduation? That's what everybody wants to know. That's what the students want to know. The students want to know that if I enroll at your institution, what are going to be the fundamental outcomes that I will be able to experience in my life so that when I enter into employment, I can say that I had a valued experience at your institution. In this workshop on quality assurance, we're going to continue the discussion on the discussion board. As well, we're going to be posting some additional resources for you to be able to examine. As a matter of fact, there will be 3 additional resources available, webinars similar to this one, that will delve deeply into the quality assurance and global perspective on accreditation, and we'll be posting those very soon as well. Again, I hope that you have found this of some benefit to you, and I look forward to interacting with you on the discussion board. Thank you.